Hi everyone, today is the 11th of March 2025. Welcome to Authentic Ingenuity Entrepreneur. My name is Minna Crichton. Okay, so before I go on to an introduction and then onto the topic that I want to talk about at the end. So welcome to Authentic Ingenuity Entrepreneur. My channel is basically about my professional life and my personal testimony. It's my entity about myself. It's my personal journey and the real facts of my life and my existence on earth. So everything you hear me saying is actually true. It's also in reference to the facts of my court cases in court at the High Court. So I'm just gonna just continue. Okay, the starting point of what's happened to me is definitely home invasion from privacy breaches historically, and that is quite evidential on my YouTube channel now and all the evidence submitted in court. So I have definitely been used. The evidence will show on my personal profile that I've actually been used for money laundering, pecuniary advantage, larceny, and if you don't know what that is, that's when somebody it's like animating somebody or inanimating someone, like what they've done to me, and then they make that their property or their goods, but it's not actually theirs. So that is what that actually means. And then definitely embezzlement and tax invasions have taken in my personal profile and personal property as an individual. And that is why I'm doing what I'm doing in court and what I'm doing on social media. So historically, I can actually prove in the court of the criminal jurisdiction that they've used me like a compass. So they're definitely locked into everything I'm doing. I knew that people were reading my diaries. I knew people was invading my space, starting at work, and the hacking into my computer at work. Those were the first instance of proxy hacking into my work, and then making a connection with people in my private life eventually, and everything has just accumulated and got me into the situation I have been historically. But it is like this, like they're having access to everything you do. They're having access to, like, on the internet. And they can have access just by looking through your internet, Google. Whoever has access to you on Wi-Fi, they can just tell what's your next move just by looking on the site you've been looking at. And I believe that's what they've done to me. They can hack into your phones, which they've done to me historically. They've done proxy hacking, and wherever I've gone, they've done proxy hacking. Different people, more than one and two people, proxy hacking me at different times, but they're using different people all the time. And this is consistent with the public scrutiny when I do go out. When you do go out, you end up being in an environment that's not natural usually. Most of the time it's not natural. But people are being used like a puppet, like to repeat or speak indirectly. So if you think people are talking weird things when you're sitting in a crowd, but they're actually, you hear something and you're like, oh, why are they saying that? But usually that's how they operate. They're trying to put thoughts in your mind. It's all part of the big illusion, the big putting thoughts in people's mind and trying to control people's mind, try and control their thinking. And so that's all part of it. And the people sometimes we talk to are puppets. They're just repeating something that somebody else has told them to do, and usually it's all consistent with whatever plan or plot they have in mind. Okay, so I just like to use this post like it's one breach plus one leak. That's all it takes is one breach. After they've studied you as an individual, you'll end up having personal invasion like what they've done to me. It's been really horrific. There have been times where I felt that people have tried to force their beliefs on me. My circumstances has not been in my control. Everything's been micromanaged. And it's just a matter of me making the right decisions in between all those times. But there have been times issues hasn't been, they've been premeditated. I've known that. I can't do anything about it, just go with it, and that's how it is. It's actually really serious and quite dangerous environment, but that is how it is. So, and that can only happen if you are in a kind of set of circumstance where I am, but privacy invasion is definitely a part of it. Historically, my case is sufficient to prove that I've been used by the government and public property, and by people globally, and I have felt like they've used me like a generator, like a human lottery, and that is exactly what they have used me for after doing a legal scientific experiment on me. So you end up living in an environment of Star Wars where the perpetrators or the people that are stealing and glued to you, when you turn your back, you leave your home, they're into everything. Literally, they're glued to everything you do. I go out, come home, and I just know when someone's been in my space, they'll break every single law just to find out what's your next move, because all this is consistent to money laundering and obviously my court cases or anything, whatever reason why they're doing what they're doing. But it is human trafficking by force, but my case is under the Crimes Act. It is called human trafficking in persons case. And this is what is actually going on historically behind the scene. They are using me for money laundering or gambling kind of purposes, which is easy to do if they've got full access into everything you're doing at your home. And that's what I believe they've used me for legally, globally. And this is consistent with the inciting of social media and what's on TV. Okay, unfortunately, social media is the norm for this generation. I myself prefer not to be on social media. I'm pretty old school. I was, hardly had anything to do with social media until I made the decision to go on social media, because I knew what I was going through personally was absolutely beyond serious. And so I have no regrets doing that. I actually decided to do my YouTube channel was more so for victims of human trafficking. It took me a while to actually realize I was being actually trafficked while I was working for my employer, and that's not hard to prove. But social media is the norm, and I know many people are like me who don't know or prefer not to do social media, but unfortunately that this is a problem that the government, I believe, has to fix, because the breaches linking to my court cases have all been intentional, meaning people globally, people have been using me for relationship scams, for movie ideas, this explains to me why people in the public come out like they have in the past. The problems I used to have when I was driving to work, the stalking, they're using their cars, people acting out and just acting zombie. You can't, no one can be really private anymore, because they only need to do what they've done, and eventually home invasion takes over, and they will take out your family members one by one, or whatever it is they want to steal off you. But social media is a global problem. It's a global thing, and so I believe that's what's happened while I was at work, under surveillance and going through what I was going through. I knew people outside were right into everything I was doing. When I say everything, I mean everything. Okay, so after they study you, they like to put words in your mouth. Okay, they call it the robot system. So they're trying to control and manipulate what you do, what you say. This explains why people already know what to say to you when you serve them, and you just get that feeling. They feel like they already know who I am. Yeah, I don't know them, or I just go out and I feel like, okay, how do these people know I'm going to be out here? I'm like so private, and I really am. And then they're out there waiting for me. And some days are hostile, other days it's not so bad, but more hostile than usual. Like, yeah, I believe it has to be internal corruption. Somebody's tipping them off to do it. But it is a global game. Somebody globally, I felt, has been monitoring me for years. But they're recording all our words. Like, I felt that this, like when you ring call centers, when you talk to people, they're recording your words. They're actually studying you. And because I'm an honest person, they expect for, whatever we say, they're basically using whatever they're recording to update you and study you, which is so easy to do, and it's so serious. Because they're in the beginning, when all the call centers kind of issue started, I used to say to them, no, I don't want to be recorded, but they just do it anyway, because legally by law still they aren't allowed to record you. But then this is the global problem with technologies. I feel like we've all been kind of like forced to get used to a system that most of us prefer not to, but it is what it is at the moment. With me, that I found that after studying me, they've actually like made me eat my words. They've acted out things, or just abused me, so I would react and just do the opposite of whatever it is I say. They've done all that. It's just been horrific, really. People coming out, acting it out. Nothing is a coincidence. I just know. But yeah, so these are all the things that I've gone through with this illegal projects on humans. So basically, after a breach, once you've been studied, you and your family's been studied, you become a left behind case. So and it's international, so that makes it even more dangerous. But that is the reality of what it is for New Zealanders now. So privacy invasion still takes place, and this is what it actually looks like. So like, I have also witnessed, and I've noticed when I do, I'm very observant of what I see, but even families, with what I've discovered watching television, they're using the originals' names, and then they're using different cultures as like that. They've been animated. Like, different cultures are actually animated people's original family without them knowing. It's on TV. It's not hard for me to actually pick up, because it's about my private life that they're talking about. It's actually really easy for me to interpret what everyone is doing. But that's actually really serious. Okay, so they are playing games. The originals are buried, while other cultures are actually acting out as them. And they're pretending on social media and on TV that it's them, but that they're actually living off the originals. I mean, that's serious. But yeah, that is what I've actually witnessed during this whole experiment they've done. And it is a global game, but it is definitely human trafficking in persons. If it can be proven by the courts, criminal jurisdiction, if they can prove all that linking to what I'm going through, then those people can be charged. But that's quite serious, right? Going to try and keep an eye on my time. I've been used for relationship scams, so my last couple of video clips has been about relationship scams, but this is exactly what I've been used for without my consent, and everything has been by force, but it's actually really easy for me to undo. So the global game, they've turned it into like some kind of Game of Thrones, New Age ecosystem is what they call it. The whole idea, just from that last post I showed you, actually I might bring that post back up. Okay, if I've actually put like several circles here. I'll just go back, hang on a moment. Okay, so we've got the Game of Thrones, and they've actually turned the court system into like a Game of Thrones. So the original is the Queen, so there's queens in the courts. So I have never submitted, I don't consider myself a queen or anything like that. But this is how I'm just trying to explain in my own words in plain English what the game actually entails. But all the game is an illusion, okay? But the breaches is global. Everyone's participating, and this explains the stalking and everything. But it's actually quite serious. But little did I know I had become a game, like a queen, or the Game of Thrones secretly, but I wasn't like doing anything to make myself behave like I was or anything like that. I was just a working individual female, but this is what they were actually doing. Okay, this is where the animating comes in. And but I just by the misuse of devices, then the relationship scam going on at work. But everyone, those that know me personally, I definitely were, committed Christian when I was working for my employer. My work ethics, I was very, I just minded my own business, did my work as best as I could under the terrible working condition I was working in. But I was bullied against, but all I could do is just go through it. And which I survived it, and then eventually they pushed me out. But the Game of Thrones involved everybody trying to get rid of me, every other nation, every other religion. Keeping in mind, this is after them stealing off me with all the other evidence that I've already put on Facebook page, on my YouTube channel from my profile. But this explains the zombie people, the public alliances from different. It was just her hostile at some stage, and I just couldn't do anything about it. Okay, for those that know about my court cases, today I'm going to be just talking briefly about my court cases. One of my cases, I've got a total of 6 cases at the moment in court. I've won them all. I have honestly won them all because they have no evidence. But I've had to just go through this new process. So what I have found that because it's fraud and they are unlawful strikes. Okay, they are unlawful strikes. My court case has been going since 4th of July 2016. So it's been a real personal journey. I'm being the litigator of my own case. I like taking the oral hearing myself, doing all the legal research, and putting all the legal administration documents together for court. Basically, I do everything for my case, self-representing myself because we're allowed to in New Zealand. That is what I've been doing since 2016, and I've basically have exhausted the court processes. And I have won all of them for sure. But that was another reason why I knew I had to go public and put my court case on YouTube. And I thought, well, that was a pretty good idea to do that. And because this system, you actually need evidence, and because they've taken away one-on-one consultation of people at the counter. The only way you can actually prove and have evidence is you've got to have social media recording of things as evidence to prove your innocence. So that's why I started up my YouTube channel, also not just for trafficking victims, but also it was for my court cases. There's been all of it's unlawful strikes, which means the fraud. So I've had to go through how many years just to prove that everything is fraud, and it is fraud. But the basis and the foundation of any government is honesty and integrity. And I've been, they've made unlawful strikes because they think because I don't have a law degree. Okay, but in our country we can represent ourselves because it's our right to, because that is our entity, that is our personal property. Okay, when we are all born as an individual, and I have not consented to anyone to do anything without my consent. So I've represented myself historically going through this new age system, and unfortunately it's serious. All I can see is fraud, and I have felt that they've only used me for money laundering. For example, the defendants are paying the Crown lots and lots of money, and then I have found that they've all basically kind of like helped each other, which prejudices me automatically. So that's how the battle has been legally. So it's been an unfair battle, and not only that, they've like been coding me, and then people in the public have been personally coming out and doing their thing, whether they've been abusive or doing their indirect zombie or whatever it is, but it is linked to the government and linked to my court cases. Okay, so what qualifications did I have? Well, I believe I have sufficient qualifications because of my experiences. In fact, in New Zealand, I would actually be overqualified in a lot of aspects because of my experience. When you work for the government, you have to do modules. We have to be updated. Where it's like it's like going to school, but they're NZQA qualifications, and so I've had to, I've got all that behind me. And then when I was doing a PSA, I did some workshops. They were also NZQA, but they were also known as a diploma. What other qualifications I have? So before I actually got my job, I had lots of other jobs. I started off working young. I started off working at a Summit sewing factory as a young teenager, and then from there I had lots of other jobs. So I've always working sort of a person, even though my background, I had problems like everybody else. Mine probably, just from a dysfunctional background, but what happened, people's circumstances, that's not their fault, what they're born into, that's just how it is. I've also, what else did I do? I had other jobs part-time jobs in between, like working in KFC, where else did I work? And I've worked also, I've worked in post office, so lots of little jobs I did way before I got my foot in the door in the government, but I decided to do an advanced certificate in business administration. I had to get a student loan out to pay for that. But a lot of my experience is actually from working for the government for 17 and a half years. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about my PSA problem. About my work relation problem with this female here. Her name is Louise Sheehan, and also known as Louise Holloway. Okay, she would be classified as the queen of whoever it is that's supporting her in an alliance, but an alliance had built up. I'm using this as an example of what was actually going on within the office, but I didn't really realize it at the time. I was just on a survivor mode. But yeah, people accuse me of not having any qualifications. But she started working at the courts from age 15 as working in the files. and then worked her way up. And that's how it is back in the days with the courts. They were pretty good then, the management and the way things were at the time. They were quite compassionate on people and giving people the opportunity to have a job, because that's how it was back then. So I just thought I'd highlight that, because I know a lot of people have used that against me, but there are a lot of other people like her, like myself, who's have a very different background. But what I'm trying to say is that that's just pure hypocrisy. That they ruin my reputation just so then they can lift themselves up and build their lies, build their reputation on lies, which is not actually true. So I find that quite offensive, and it's just not right. Excuse me. Okay, so what I've actually asked the judge for was for an interlocutory application for a set-aside judgment, okay, for miscarriage of justice. So this here, I had submitted this to the court, and we went through the whole process, and I'm still waiting for a judgment. So but it's quite clear that the reason why I've asked, I've already explained about interlocutory set-aside judgment in some of my videos. So if you're into law or anything, that's privileged information, go have a look. I kind of explain it in my own words, what it means. So what actually happened was I had this evidence in the protected disclosure. So the Ministry of Justice got this evidence. The New Zealand Police got this evidence. But going back at that day, I was having problems with Louise Holloway, Claire O'Connor, and June Tupe, okay? And so I had this evidence as an exhibit in all of them, okay? Because this was kind of like the core evidence of the starting point of cybercrime, okay? Workplace bullying. It never went away. And when someone's being bullied like I have been, that I'm outnumbered. I'm one single female against how many of them? They're only going to take advantage of the situation as soon as they can. Okay, so this is what actually happened. So this here was actually in all the protected disclosure. No one did nothing about it, and their names were on this protected disclosure. But then to kind of finalize and prove that they have no case to answer, even if they tried to challenge it, is that in 2015, when they did do the work, and when I went through the problem with the workplace bullying again, this time I was being represented by Glenn Cooper, and he knew all about this. But the people that actually put in the complaint, well, first of all, I was the one who complained first, and then they turned the complaint on me. That is what happened during 2015. I made the first official complaint, and then they turned the complaint on me. And the people that complained to me was June Tupe and Louise Holloway, and she was still working in the same building as I was. And then I got the unfair dismissal. Okay, so I mean that's a criminal case. All right. And so that's what happened in 2015. I made the complaint about the workplace bullying because they were hostile. They were putting out black rubbish bags. They were threatening me while I was working. But this is been on and off for years. They were following me. I couldn't even go to the toilet without being glued. Somebody following me, watching me everywhere I'm going. I felt like I was in prison. But this is consistent with the stalking in public, going home, coming back. Okay. The other thing I have found is that they would seem to know my problems at home. Like, everyone has private, issues at home sometimes with your family. And you go to work, you're feeling like you want to cry, or, you've just had a bad morning or something. And they've known that, and they've actually, I have felt that they have put people in the elevator to ask me questions when they know I'm really upset, if you know what I mean. So I believe that what they're doing this is part of what they're doing, which is absolutely illegal in a stage, is that they're watching your every emotion and they want to catch your reaction under the camera. Okay? All this is evidence, and if it was to be undone, I'm quite sure the criminal barristers can actually find all that what I'm actually saying is true. But that is why it's so serious, the monitoring and the surveillance. They've done a lot of their research on or studying of my personality just from under the camera. Okay, so, and they've abused me under the camera or done something to make me react. But it's obviously it's evidence they want to use against me. But everything is explainable. Like, they can't really use anything on anyone unless that person has a chance to say what they want to say. But this is my pure evidence of what happened. This was done by the support of a PSA delegate. His name was Paul Christian. At his advice, he told me to do this. So there's a consistency of emails in here, but it looks really bad. It looks like they set up the church, or it looks like they set me up. Okay, but so this is the evidence I've got against the public services manager or the CER. What's her name? Let's just bring them up. Because Ministry of Justice were not happy that they didn't do anything for me. So I've actually not only sued them, but I've also actually wanted every single money back, all my fees back from them because of what they put me through. They could have done something. They could have taken me out, or they could even taken a legal case and won. They could have done that, but they didn't. And they can't, because I know that they've changed the system and they actually think that they can have what is it called, immunity. They just because it's happened at work, and then I went through the unfair employment court, and then I won that case. They think that this here would fall under the same court case, but it doesn't. I've already done the research on that, on the court cases, on that, because it's a criminal case. And not only that, I was under a different contract to what the new PSA members, after with everything that they've changed. So my court case actually falls under the old contract that I had with my employer and under the old contract that I had with PSA. So all these new laws do not apply to this court case because because of the contract that I had with PSA. But at that time, or their CEO, I think he was Richard Wag. See if I can find his name. It's been a long time. There's heaps of them, but there was evidence in my documents of different PSA people. See if I can find it. But they have no case. Okay, absolutely no case. They've let me down. See, I've put in here the evidence with their. See, everybody got everything. And then here's my divorce paper. I got divorced in 2006. No, that's the wrong date. Oh, no, it's another one. 2006, I got divorced, and then I changed my name to Crichton. But going back to the same manager, This manager here, she's been my longest, Louise Holloway Sheehan. She's been my longest manager out of all the managers. So there shouldn't be any confusion of my name. They know that you know, I am Mina Nuema and Mina Kreishan. There shouldn't have been no excuse. They ain't gonna stand up in court legally at all. Totally, the truth of the matter is they had to have no defence at all. The other concern that I've had is that, you know, time has gone by and they're deleting evidence, all right? Here, this is Dwayne Leo. He's the one that I serve the documents to. That's just evidence. I've actually got him on my Facebook page. There you go. This is Dwayne Leo for PSA.
It's obvious now that the government's claim that no frontline services will be affected is a lie.
Yeah.
No amount of spin will stop the public from seeing that the government is deliberately underfunding their public services and setting the table for private shareholders to enrich themselves from people's need.
Yeah, he's about right there with that one. Okay, so that was PSA. The guy that is, I just showed you his name. Here is Leo Dwayne. But going backwards to this time here for PSA, the people that are actually in trouble are the CEOs at that point in time, because they knew about me. I think his name is Richard Wagfield, or I can't remember his name. He was one of the CEOs, but they knew there was another female CEO. They knew. So what my case actually, every single CEO in government involving me, they are the ones who are actually criminally responsible for what's happened to me. Okay, so that's how it works, because my case is so serious, and because it goes back to 2016, but then all the evidence actually goes all the way back to 2006. So in a criminal case, it clears all the judges that have done unlawful strikes, meaning everyone that has given the judges the wrong evidence, that falls on the court. That's how it works, because the deputy and the court deputy registrars and the managements for court are separate jurisdiction to the judges. So whatever the courts give to the judge, that is what they have to make a judgment by. So that's how the system is usually when I was doing it. So the courts a first priority to make sure that the judge doesn't make any unlawful strikes, meaning they have to make sure that the judges get all the evidence. But now there is unlawful strikes. But if this case goes through the criminal, because it's a very serious case, all the laws come back, and all the managers and all the CEOs going back, if they're all still alive, they will all be made accountable for a conspiracy, a very serious conspiracy, because it's affected a lot of people. And don't forget, I was poisoned. I've made allegations I was poisoned in there in 2010. And so that's what actually usually happens, and all the laws come back alive on my case. And I'm actually really glad I've been consistent with everything. And everybody can get summons. That's how it happens. Summons all the witnesses in. But I've had to do this because I have found with what I've gone through, they are killing people by code killing. This is after studying me, and they're just using words to code me secretly behind the scene. They're coding people's families behind the scene. And what's this here? Let's have a look. Okay, that's my pay slip with Department of Corrections. So there was sufficient evidence in there, and they had no reason not to make a set-aside judgment. So the other concern I've had is like civil judges are different. They have a different mindset from a criminal judge. Like a criminal judge wouldn't play around with my kind of case, but other cultures and religions have sabotaged me in between. It's all the in between. That's what's happened. And they're stealing too while they're at it. Okay, so I had sufficient evidence there. There was no reason for them to not do anything, to do an order. Yeah, so I guess it's just they don't want to admit defeat. But the thing is that reason why I've been consistent on YouTube is because it hasn't been safe for me. I haven't been able to go forward. Well, it's safer now, thanks to everyone. And it's not safe when it's when it's a global, when someone's been used globally, and then have all these people to tell me to be humble. I mean, why don't you try and go through what I've gone through and see if you can be humble? Okay, so don't tell people what to do when you haven't done it yourself. But anyway, so this is my what I've gone through personally. Yeah. Just turn that around a bit. So I think I'll finish at that for now. And even the fact that people are doing what they're doing, global games on innocent civilians who doesn't even know that they are at risk of being targeted. I mean, that is serious. The other thing I found quite serious is that, they're talking indirectly, like they're animating me with a different culture or animating me with a different person. I mean, that's lying about somebody and trying to pretend, it's just the way they're doing it. It's just, that's not being honest. But this here is what it looks like. It's slowly ceasing, so I can confirm whoever's behind the investigation and who's catching people out. Congratulations. They're still inciting on TV and that, but I'll expose them if I feel to. But that's quite serious. People mind their own business, work hard, and then lose their identity, lose everything good that they've worked hard for. I've lost a lot. They've caused division in my home, in my family. They're continuously making internal threats to murder people, and they are murdering people one by one, but they're coding them. So that's not good. Okay, I'm nearly going to finish up. I recommend you watch this on Netflix. I think this is a really good movie to explain trafficking and breaches. Like, this here is really good, like how this female ended up being trafficked and it ended up in a trafficking ring. Then she ended up in a container, and then she, the holes or the leaks that she had to try and find a way to stop that box from sinking, so this is like a good way to explain what a breach is. And globally, honest to God, there's no they basically leave you out to survive on your own, and it's all in making the right decisions and just praying that God will just help you out through some pretty difficult time, and the right people will come and help you. But I am in a lockout situation. And the opposing allies know it, and they're hinting on social media, on the radio. I can easily sit down with a barrister, and just go through all those ads and have everyone done for serious conspiracy breaches, because it's a game, and they're just letting everybody know the game is to stop something from happening, to stop something, from happening, or, that's what they're doing. Okay, so it's terrible. So my case is definitely a gross injustice. Okay, Honestly, I tell you, I've been through it. I've been there, done it. But I'm always like on a alert. I feel like I'm always on a defense. And then I just try and ignore what's going on. But this is just not right. It's wrong. And that's what happens when they cover up. When people cover up serious violent crimes, it doesn't go away. It just means the perpetrators will just go out and continue on, stealing and killing and hurting innocent civilians. So it's just not good for everybody. Okay, so this is where I worked with Louise Holloway, the starting point going back to 2000 and when was it? 2004, I think it was. And then this here is actually a crime scene. It's not there anymore. This is where I met Heather, and this is where I met Angela Jones, Heather Hughes, and this is where I met Heather and Angela Jones. I think I've already got that up on one of my video clips. So I mean, it's a global game and it's quite serious what's happened. So this here is actually a crime scene. This here is not there anymore. It's gone. But the phone calls are all become evidential because this was where I worked. My desk was around here in the front counter most of the time, but I was most of the time I was out of the office being a PSA delegate, or I'll cover courts for other courts, or I'll cover courts for Civil and Disputes Tribunal or Tenancy Tribunal. So even though I did the front counter, I still had my court deputy registrar powers from the other courts. You never lose it. And then from there, I was also a marriage celebrant. So I've done quite a lot of weddings, going at this point of time of my career. So this here was level 2 at the Civil and Disputes Tribunal, but this counter here is not there anymore. But all the phone calls become evidence, and a lot of my home phone calls were done from this in the front counter. And so I did front counter quite a bit and entering disputes, claims and stuff into the system, and then I just did all the other things in between, with like being a PSA delegate. So I didn't exactly do one thing at a time. I was multitasked, and I did quite a bit of things, quite a lot of duties back then. And then I went down to the criminal jurisdiction. I think it might have been 2007 onwards, I think, on or about. And Louise came down and worked there after that, because I actually left this section because of our working relationship problem. Our manager at the time was Debbie Masani, who said to me it was her idea for me to go downstairs and if I wanted to, and I took the offer. I thought, why not? It'd be nice to have a change. And then I went down to the to the summary section, it's called. It's still criminal in the summary jurisdiction. And I was there for until I actually finished up with working for the Ministry of Justice. But I think I'd moved around about 3 or 4 times, and they kept moving us around. But all the phone calls that I did in there was as evidence, and all the phone calls that I actually made in the other offices in my private time and in court are all phone calls. They're all evidence. So I will just that all should link to my private life also. This is what happens when a conspiracy becomes a crime scene. All these things are investigated. The seriousness of what I've gone through is the secret exploitation. Okay, so from a single breach, you might as well. I think being secretly exploited is worse than being exploited, like, and you are, if you know what I'm saying, because it's being secretly exploited for years, and without your consent, and you have all these weird people coming in your space, stalking you. You don't even know why they're stalking you, and and doing what they're doing is quite threatening and hostile, and I feel like I'm being bullied and ganged upon, and you can't do anything about it. It's dangerous, because it's internal. And then when you ring the police, and some of you have listened to some of my police phone calls, but the police, unfortunately, they're all going to be part of a big criminal case. I'm still waiting to find out what happens from that. I haven't heard yet from the judge, even though I put in a memo for the New Zealand police. But while they're prolonging, or while me waiting for them to do an order, it hasn't been safe for me. People are taking turns to secretly destroy me or secretly sabotage me. It's so dangerous. But I'm always being personally attacked. So all it takes is for them just to do an order by law or according to the laws, so then victims can protect themselves. But I think they're just going to wait till I die, I guess. But I'm making sure that they get prosecuted, and I just have to trust God in my journey. Okay, so what's been also, I thought I might as well carry on, but the other inciting things that they've been doing is secretly for years. I didn't know this until I actually kind of like realized what was going on, but part of the game is everybody is using their jobs, and this here was definitely one of them. Okay, state attack, that this is what you call very serious illegal coding, and trying to initiate secret attacks on individuals. The danger that I found really unfair about the whole game is that they're ganging on innocent civilians who don't even know that they're being attacked by other cultures. They don't even know that other cultures and other religions have paired up to actually take you out. And I believe this is what happened with Church of Christ. And I know that this can easily happen to anybody that is an original, or is like I am. It can happen. It's just from a subtle breach, but that's quite serious. And I put that on my Facebook actually, and I've been exposing people because this year I believe was in reference to what the game I was I'm being subject to. They've coded three relationships. I've been used for relationship scams. Okay, so part of the game is the originals are targeted because everybody knows you're the original and we're treated invisible. Okay, it's consistent with them deleting our existence. And the evidence has been falsified, and consistent with the unlawful strikes. So just for anyone that's on a left behind case and you're going through anything I'm going through, watch my video clips for tips for safety. But you're not crazy. If these things are happening, it shouldn't be happening, and the police aren't responding to your calls. Just do what you can to stay safe, and stay public is what I'd say to do. Don't go anywhere where there's no cameras. Just stay safe, stay public, and just be alert of your surroundings, because I know that's easy for people to actually even know to rob you. Gangs are definitely involved. The government can't blame the gangs for everybody, like for everything, because the government is meant to intervene and before things happen, not wait till after things happen. So they're definitely at fault. The police back in the days, going back with Department of Courts, they would react immediately to privacy breaches. Not, that they're supposed to, or they'll have cops, walking around the street to make sure these things aren't happening. But people are playing games with people's liberty, and if they can steal, it's an easy steal. I mean, I'm shocked to even hear on the radio them tipping off everybody, easy steal, and they've coded me, they've coded my family, and then so some of these are. Okay guys, so I think I'm going to finish it there now. Gone a little bit too long for my video clips, but lots of good tips. And yeah, so I'll finish it there.